Hello, this is an impromptu, the ASTROPHANE podcast, I guess. Yeah, it's not really a podcast, it's just me talking. And me just calling it a podcast because I'm just talking. Whatever. But hey, it's been a long time. I haven't done a podcast in like 8 months. So since like the spring, and the reason why I did in the spring is because over the last few years, I've come to realize that January doesn't feel like the new year. Like, I feel that the springtime should be a new year, but I know because, like, it's not like a spirituality thing, it's not an astrology thing, it's like, I don't even know what to call it. Why, like, we decide that January is a new year. And because time isn't real, time is an illusion, but these are the laws of the world. An alarm. But these are the laws of the world, so we have to follow these laws of the world, even though it could be bullcrap. But I'll go along with it. Like, I'm not gonna rebel. Like, it is what it is. Because you know what I heard, that in Ethiopia, I think they're like a few years behind. So I think they're like, let me Google this. Cause what year is it in Ethiopia? And that's in Africa for people who didn't know. Okay, let's see. Because they're saying that it's 7 years behind. 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar. So they're in 2014 right now. And I guess they'll be moving into 2015 for 2023. Which is very interesting. Like, if there's any Ethiopians that are watching this, correct me. Yeah, but time is like weird, it's arbitrary. And I feel that spring feels more like a new year than like the middle of winter in January. But astrologically, we can make, since this is about astrology, like, we can make the point that like it makes sense that the new year is in January, because that's Capricorn season. Most of January is Capricorn season, so Capricorn is about Saturn, and Saturn rules over time and just different things. It's not just time, but father time, Saturn time. And like, I remember a few years ago, I was talking to this like ex-coworker, and I was just saying, I don't understand why it's in the middle of winter. And she was saying maybe it's like for like morale, like the holidays are during that time, and maybe it's giving people reasons to celebrate and to push through, which makes a lot of sense. Like, not necessarily for like Christmas or Hanukkah, because those are more like Capricorn like type celebrations, but I could really see that in terms of like Thanksgiving. And in the United States, it's like in Sagittarius season. So that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's like, if you're in a region where there's seasons, it could like bring up morale, like being with family, being warm if you have a home, and be blessed that you have a home. Like, the spirit of Thanksgiving, to be thankful, which I can appreciate it. And supposedly with Thanksgiving, when we were kids, us American folks, they were saying, oh, it was the pilgrims and da-da-da-da. But like a few years ago, like I sort of found out that like Thanksgiving was more because during the Civil War, I guess someone wrote, that could be an urban legend too, but someone wrote President Lincoln like saying, hey, like we need to boost people's morals. Like they're warring. We need to pause the war and you know, have a day for them to be with family and to like celebrate their blessings and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I read that somewhere. But you know what? Let me do a quick Google search because I don't want to be giving out fake ass misinformation, because that's a thing these days. Okay, let's see. Okay, when I put origin of Thanksgiving holiday, Hillmouth colonists. I forgot how to pronounce Plymouth, Pillmouth. The English language is so weird. Okay, so they were celebrating it back then, but I'm talking about when it was made a holiday. So it was made a holiday in Libra season, October 3rd, 1863, to express gratitude for a pivotal Union Army victory at Gettysburg. And he announced that the official Thanksgiving holiday, the nation will celebrate an official Thanksgiving holiday on November 26, 1863. So technically they've been celebrating it for centuries before, but Lincoln's the one that turned it into a holiday. Yeah, but like it makes sense. It's Sagittarius season. Hold up. I wonder if they have the natal chart for the first Thanksgiving. Maybe I should put that in, but I don't know what time. Maybe I should put that in. Let me just see. Sorry. When did Christmas become a holiday? Let's just see something here. Okay. It's been a federal holiday in the United States since 1870. And this is for the United States. When I'm talking about stuff, I'm talking about United States. Okay, but this happened on June 28th, 1870. That's when Ulysses Grant decided to make it a holiday. Okay, so that makes sense. So Thanksgiving, it happened October 3rd during Libra season. And this happened during Cancer season, June 28th. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. What sign is Ulysses Grant? Sorry. Listen, this is a random ass podcast. Oh, he's a Taurus. April 27th, 1822. So Ulysses S. Grant is a Taurus. And you know, the United States love fixed sign, like presidents. So like Leos, they love Leos, they love Scorpios, they love Aquariuses, they love Tauruses. Was he a loved president? He must be, because he led the Union Army to victory in 1865 for the Civil War. So he must be a beloved president. Yeah, but let me step away from this topic because, well, the holidays part of it, because, you know, everything is so like polarized these days, as somehow if anyone catches this, is gonna be like politicized. Oh, he was in the middle. Like, shut the fuck up, get out of my face. Like, ugh, I fucking hate that shit. That's also probably one of the reasons why I don't like to speak out as often, because there's so much things that you could get canceled for, And like, I'm not a controversial person, like, at all. Like, I'm not one of those people that like saying things to like shock people. Like I'm very like careful like with my words, unless I'm like with like people that I like really care about and trust, where I could just be silly with them and they like will get it and stuff like that. But like this stupid ass Age of Aquarius ass society, like, you know, you gotta be careful what you say, and this like weird ass, and I'm gonna get to that, by the way. And you know, it may be seen as controversial, but you know what, whatever. But the Age of Aquarius, like, everyone's saying all these, have these theories or whatever, and but I feel that we are seeing like the negative side effects of the transition from the Age of Pisces to the Age of Aquarius. Like, the polarization of everything. Like, I feel like, especially in politics, but in other subjects too, like social subjects, like, everything's like cult-like. People behave like so culty. Like, and for some things I can understand, like, I'll like never get behind like racism. Like, if you're like been proven to be a racist, you could go kick rocks somewheres, and like I can understand that. Like, but like it's just like other things that like just like bother me, like about like the way society is going and heading, and like people like, I'm just like seeing like very like extremist point of view, and people like being like divisive about everything. Like, you say one thing and like it's interpreted a different way. Oh, I like bagels. You like bagels? So you don't like bread, sliced bread? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you know, like how things could be like misinterpreted. It's just weird. Like, it's honestly weird. Like, I never would have pictured like we as like a people being here. But you know, I can't say too much on that. But yeah, like the Age of Aquarius, like, I have like a blog post where I'm just talking about the Age of Aquarius. And like, a lot of people forget that Aquarius, yes, open-minded and all that stuff, but it's also like a fixed sign. Like, fixed signs are known to be stubborn, and fixed signs are known to be like the maintainers. They maintain things. So like, it makes sense, kind of. That's how people are reacting, especially as we're transitioning out of the Age of Aquarius transitioning out of the Age of Pisces into like Aquarius. Like, a lot of delusional people, the increase in popularity with like spirituality, but also like grifters, people that just want to make a quick buck. Like, and it makes a lot of sense, like, if you really think about it. Like, I never would have thought like astrology would be popular like how it is now. Like, all these like social media sites talking about Mercury retrograde this, Mercury retrograde that. Like, I remember there was a time where astrology believers, I mean, it still applies to now too, but astrology believers, like, you're like just like a weirdo. Like, and I do think it's still like that, but it's less like that like now, but it's still like that. Like, but they still think you're weird. They still think you're like, what, you're a devil worshiper? Like, have y'all met devil worshippers? Or are you just like ignorant. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at your natal chart before you like decide to like throw out the whole entire thousands of years of astrology. Like, grow up. Like, you know what I mean? But that's another topic. But just like the dogmatic part, like, that's fixed energy. Like, Pisces, you know, like the age of Christ, the age of like religion, of like vulnerability, being like, you know, like swept up into like the feeling. Like, I love history, and maybe that's like a blog post idea, but I love history, even if it may like be inaccurate, because, you know, it's like, it's not fiction, but it can be sometimes, because, you know, a lot of the history that we have is being like hidden and kept from us, and there's a lot of things we don't know that we didn't learn that we know now. You know what I mean? Like, no one was talking about like Juneteenth, like, in history. You know what I mean? And I say this as someone who is American, born an American, but I'm a first generation American like person. Like, I didn't know what Juneteenth was until like 2017, 2018, like, and like, and I know that it was celebrated by Black Americans from here, but it wasn't like a thing, like, you know what I mean, for people outside that community. And I think it's really crazy that it took all these years to make it a holiday. And I just find it completely nuts. And like, that stuff was like perfect, that was hidden, like. And I think stories like this is important to be like shared, but, you know, history is gonna history. Like, there's always some like narrative that goes along with like history. But yeah, like the Age of Aquarius, like, a lot of, I feel like it's gonna be kind of like big brothery, cause like privacy, like, what is that? Privacy, what is that? Like, you know, you're like, Google knows more about you than you do. Like, let's keep it real. Like, don't be naive. Like, all the stuff that you search for, like Google knows a lot about you. And Google probably knows you better than like your family knows you at this point. You know what I mean? Or do they really? I'm being a little bit sarcastic, by the way. Just a little bit. Like, I am spitting some truth, but, you know, I'm exaggerating. But I just find it like very like crazy. Like, I do feel there's going to be people respecting people's independence more. Definitely. Like, people, like, you know, being more independent minded, and, you know, celebrating the individual, but also celebrating, like, you know, being cooperative and possibly working together more. Like, maybe like there'll be like stuff like unions, like more like push to unionize and like to protect workers' rights, stuff like that. And like, definitely women's rights. That's gonna be like, you know, they've been saying this for a while now, maybe since like 2017, but like, you know, the rise of the divine feminine energy. And that's very Aquarian. Like, that is so Aquarian. It's like not even funny. And you know, Aquarius is ruled by the modern ruler is Uranus, but the traditional ruler is Saturn. So that's what people also forget. People always, when they think about Aquarius, they always go for Uranus and Uranian energy and think that's for all Aquarius. But some Aquarius are more like Saturn than Uranus, you know what I mean? And I feel like the Age of Aquarius with the big brother thing, the Saturn part of it, because I considered both the traditional and the modern ruler. A lot of people just go off with Uranus. But like some, like, if you look at, everyone's different. Like people on the internet love to say, oh, this is a January Aquarius. But I'm a February Aquarius, and February Aquariuses are better. And, you know, vice versa. They like to beef like that. Because, you know, we're in the age of division. Fuck the age of this and that. We're in the age of division. Everything's divisive. But, maybe, I mean, I feel like there needs to be more studies on, like, the differences between February, like, the different months of signs. Because I've heard that, like, supposedly November Scorpios are more Scorpion than October Scorpios. But, you know what I mean? Like, and, like, December Sagittariuses are less than November Sagittariuses. And I'm skeptical about that because I feel you have to look at an individual's chart. Because if you look, okay, since it's Capricorn season, I'm going to give two examples for Capricorn season and Aquarius season because, you know, January is around the corner. January 2023 is around the corner. But for December Capricorns, they're more likely to have Sagittarius energy and Scorpio energy and also Capricorn energy, but they're more likely to have Sagittarius and Scorpio energy. And depending on what planet is where. And the January Capricorns, they're more likely to have Capricorn energy, Aquarius energy, and Pisces energy. So, like, there are differences between, but you also have to look at the individual too. Like, there's some, like, it depends on the timing too, you know what I mean? Like, I've always said this, but astrology is about stereotyping, but I feel that's only when it comes to when people are trying to, like, show a theme or, like, you know, do predictions. But if you look at an individual's chart, it's like, it's different. And it's not because just the natal chart, but it's also like the decisions that person makes. It's their genetics, it's their environment. And I feel that, like, people don't consider that too. Like, I know I would have been a different way if I was raised differently, you know what I mean? But I would say there also are themes, because I've known so many with the same birthday. Not so many, but at least 3 or 4 people that have the same birthday. Some of them are different years, but the majority of them are the same years. And I do, like, see a lot of themes between them, me and myself. And I just, you know, I find it interesting. And I feel like it is important to pick up on themes too. And to give an example for, like, the Aquarius, like the January Aquarius, they have Capricorn, they have They have Aquarius. What else? Yeah, it's mainly those two. In the February, they have Aquarius, Pisces, and yeah, like usually like two. So there is a difference, but it also depends on a lot of things. And yeah, like I don't know, but the Age of Aquarius doesn't seem as exciting as you think it will be. I mean, it could be exciting, a lot of technological advances, but I feel like with humanity, we take one step forward and like two steps back sometimes. Like, it's weird. Like, we make so much progress. We could live longer, have life, like, expanded life expectancy and all that. But at the same time, like, the same themes, the same, like, sort of issues, like, come up in a different way. You know that saying, history repeats, or history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Like, you know, some shit like that people be saying. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But I could definitely see, like, the big brother Saturn part in the Age of Aquarius. Because again, like, all that data, all that information, like, we're giving it away. Like, we're consenting to less privacy. And, it becomes a war. Not a war, but a battle. I don't know how to describe it. An interaction between privacy and, like, safety. You know what I mean? Like, between, like, fear and freedom. I'm back with part 2. I got cut off. So yeah, I was talking about the Age of Aquarius and just how it may, in my mind, like how it may be. And yeah, I just have thoughts. And right now it's also like an interesting time as we transition from the Age of Pisces to the Age of Aquarius. Like, we're seeing a lot of grifters, a lot of scammers, and a lot of, like, cultish, like, energy. Like, and it's interesting. Like, the times that we're in now is interesting. And yeah. But even, like, the new year, like, new energies. But a day ago, it was old energies. And today is new energies. Which, as I said, it's like, it's interesting. Yeah. But, I also want to talk about, I sound Canadian just now, about, shout out to my Canadians out there. But, yeah, like, if I have to reflect on this year, even though, like, for me, like, spring is new year, let's just go with it. If I have to reflect on this year, like, this year was interesting. It was harder than most years, but not like my hardest years. But a lot of important things happened. And I feel a little bit triumphant because I was able to, like, overcome some things. And yeah, like, very unexpected things that I thought could happen but wasn't going to happen did. And very, like, as I said, very, like, interesting. And I feel, like, triumphant because I was able to do things that I didn't think I could do. And yeah, and I was able to accomplish something that I've been wanting to accomplish for like a long time. Like, I finally like updated like my cards. Like, if y'all don't know, whoever's listening, but I have this like side hustle hobby that like started in late 2016. It's astrology flashcards. It's called ASTROcard. And yeah, like, I've made so much like progress on it, because what I did was I made my cards bigger and I included 50 plus more cards. So like my second edition sort of like cards, like they were smaller and it only had 129 cards, but now it's 180 cards. So nearly 200 cards. And I've also added numerology cards. So it's like, should I even be calling it like astrology cards anymore? Because it's also like numerology cards. It's like symbols, and it's vocabulary, and it's numerology cards. Yeah, and it's like 18 numerology cards, 45 vocabulary cards, and 48 vocabulary cards, and 114 symbols cards. And like before, it was 129 cards, it was 99 symbols cards, and it was 30 vocabulary cards. So I added 50 more cards, and I changed it up, I switched it up. I also like designed it to look, to elevate the cards, the way the cards look. Because the cards were nice before, but very simple. And, I want to make them aesthetically like more pleasing. So that's why like I wanted to like, sorry, I don't know if you're hearing it, the noises, but like the upstairs neighbors are being loud as usual. But yeah, I updated my cards, and I've been wanting to do it for like 2018. I have so much ideas, not have. I have so much ideas and so much plans and so much things that I want to do. But, I wanted to like really think about it and really like decide like my course of action. And like 2019, something unexpected happened that like took like half the year. Like something very unexpected that just like put a whole like stop. So like for the like last half of like 2019, like there wasn't really that much I could like do. And I got over it. And 2020, I was supposed to come back in style, but the pandemic, and I'm fine with that. It is what it is. And the time for me updating my cards was like now. This was the perfect time to do it. And for me, like, timing is everything. Sometimes there's things that you want to do, but like you're not ready to do them yet. And sometimes you need life experience and wisdom and just things to happen in order for you to be on that course. Like when I first started the cards, I was in like this big like sort of transition, and like realizing a lot of things, gaining wisdom, which is why like I started making the cards, because I was learning a lot about life. And You know, it's the same thing now, and it's always going to be the same thing. And, you know, Capricorn season, it should. A lot of people don't learn, but it should be bringing you wisdom. Not only that, but we're also in like Mercury retrograde now until like January 18th. So, you know, a lot of reflection. And, you know, we're in Capricorn season, and Mercury retrograde is in Capricorn. So, yeah, just like a lot of, you know, reflection, rethinking, you know, Capricorn shit. Like, you know, hard work. Like, anytime Saturn is in Saturn, like in its like sign, which is Capricorn and Aquarius, but mainly Capricorn, like, that's like the time where you have to like put your feet, like, you know, sit your ass down and like put in the work. And with Saturn, you cannot avoid your lessons. You cannot avoid, like, you know, work. Like, it doesn't allow you to, like, at all. Yeah. So you gotta put in the work, do what you gotta do, and, you know, there's gonna be a time where you can't run away. And that's what a lot of us do. Like, I definitely do that. And, you know, it's something that like you're urged not to do. Like, again, like, other planets you could like bullshit, but like Saturn and Pluto, malefic planets, you can't do that. Like, I would say that like Pluto is like much slower, so you can kind of bullshit, but there's gonna be like a point in that transition, in that transformation, where you can't like bullshit. And like with Saturn doesn't waste time. Like, even if you just talk about like Saturn transits, that's like 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And like a Pluto transit is like much longer. So you have time to bullshit. But there's going to be a time in your Pluto transit where you can't bullshit. Like, you can't run away. Like, you're going to see the effects of your bullshit. It's going to happen, like, not as fast as Saturn, but it's going to happen. And with Saturn, like, you can't bullshit Saturn. Like, they're going to let you know immediately. But the good thing is that they allow you to make those mistakes and to correct yourself. And if you don't do it this time around, it's going to remind you again. And, you know, the seasons, not necessarily the seasons, but like the months with different signs, they're all like teaching you something. Like, the winter time, especially if you live in a climate with like winter, like ice, cold, snow, wet, like less sun, like you could definitely feel it. Like, it's very like timely. Like, you can't be wasting time during the winter time. If you have to do something, you have to get it done, because it could be like consequences. Now, like, we're kind of like, if you live in the Western world, you're privileged. So like, there's a lot of things that like you could kind of like bullshit, but at the end of the day, no. Like, one thing you can't bullshit is hard work. One thing you can't bullshit is like you not knowing what you need to know. You know what I mean? You can't like get away with that for long. You know what I mean? And especially during the Mercury retrograde time, like if anything, just learn. Just like, if you can't if you feel that you can't do something, just learn, like be reflective, especially Mercury retrograde. Like, it's giving you a chance. Like, a lot of people like hate Mercury retrograde, or like, you know what I hate? Like what astrologers do, they like over exaggerate like Mercury retrograde. Maybe it's a little bit different for people that natally have Mercury retrograde. Like, I have Mercury retrograde natally. So like when Mercury retrograde happens, I'm like, okay. Like, I still feel effects like everyone else. Like, I'm not exempt from Mercury retrograde. Like, no, I'm not exempt from it. So, like, I feel the effects too. Like, packages get lost, misunderstandings happen. Like, I'm not exempt from that. But, like, it's not, like, for me, like, as big of a deal. Like, oh, what's happening? Okay. And, but, you know, it's the internet. People like to over exaggerate to, like, you know, get the views and get the attention that they need. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular. Like, no shade to anyone. But, you know, like, I get it though. I get it completely. And yeah, like, just go back, look back at like your successes and your failures. If that's the only thing you can do, you're still doing something. Like, looking back, like understanding like lessons that you still like need to pass or need to like learn. Like, even just doing that like will like do you wonders. And Capricorn is a very like deliberate sign. It's very intentional, very deliberate. So like, you know, focus on like intentions and being like more deliberate. Like, you know, the legend of Capricorn being like the sea goat. I don't know why, but like new like astrologers now are trying to say that Capricorn is like a mermaid. No, that's Pisces, that's Neptune. Like, don't be trying to like mess with the goat. It's not happening. Like, Capricorn in no mythology, like, is a sea goat. It came from the sea. It like shed its legs. Well, its sea legs. Wait, that makes no sense. Fishes don't have legs. It shed its fish tail, its fish parts, got some legs, and like climbs steadily and slowly up that mountain. It's a sea goat. So, you know, when it was in the sea, it was swimming and not like bad like a goat does. Like, wait, do goats make sounds? I mean, they do make sounds, but do they make like, what kind of sounds do they make? Bad. I don't know. But yeah, goats, like a sea goat. And when they got to land, they had to like, you know, change. They had to learn, you know, how to like use their new like, what do they call goat feet? Hoofs? Whatever the case, they had to learn to use their goat feet and walk up that mountain steadily, slowly, deliberately, like keeping their pace, keeping their like momentum, encountering like challenges, not falling off that mountain, doing what they gotta do, because that's the sign of Capricorn. They may take slower to get there, and there may be more obstacles, but they eventually get to whatever goals that they have. And, you know, sometimes life is harsh and sometimes they can't overcome the challenges. But, you know, it's also about like the effort. And, you know, sometimes Saturn doesn't give you the time. That's the really fucked up thing. Like, sometimes, like, because, you know, Saturn represents time too. That's why, like, I understand why, like, New Year's is during Capricorn season and in January, because time is of the essence. Like when the weather is warmer, and like if you like warm weather, but majority of people, they like mild weather. Like how could you not? I know some people love extreme weather when it's really hot or really cold, but I think the general consensus is that a lot of people like don't like hate like milder weather. Yeah, so like the milder weather like kind of like can make you complacent in a way. In winter, because it's so harsh and so cold, and you know everything is timely. Like who wants to be outside when it's really cold? Like it's deadly, you know what I mean? So you got to do what you do fast. Be very deliberate about what you have to do. Get your stuff done and get out from the elements. And that's being out in the elements during the wintertime is dangerous. But with like Capricorn and all that, like it's, you know, it's important like to like, again, I keep saying this, but that's what it is, like being intentional. But yeah, I'm just rambling and just saying hi. But yeah, 2020 has been a very like revealing and transformative year. Harder than most years, but I'm understanding the lessons from it. And I'm grateful for like the experiences. Not only am I grateful, but I'm blessed. Like if you're living through the pandemic and you're still here, you are blessed. Like someone's looking out for you. God is looking out for you. Like, and you know, especially during the winter time, especially with that big ass snowstorm that came through. But you're even more blessed because you have a roof over your head, heat, indoor heat, plumbing, running water. Like, consider yourself blessed. Like, I know we're entering hard times in terms of the economy and all that, and probably other stuff too, lying in the wait. But you're blessed, and like with Sagittarius season, like was all about gratitude, especially like Thanksgiving. Like ignore like the capitalist corporate like stuff. Even like with Christmas, ignore all that stuff. But you know, it's about gratitude. Like Sagittarius is about like knowing that you are abundant. You may not be where you need to be or have what you want to have. And you may be in a like a dark period or even light period or a transitional period. But you are blessed. You're blessed, and you have what you need. You already have what you need. And you know, Capricorn season is about like being scrappy, being resourceful, and not excess. Like Sagittarius season was about excess. Capricorn season is not about excess. You know, it's about being frugal. Because again, like it's a winter time. Like who wants to be like homeless in the winter time? You know what I mean? Who like wants to be out in the cold, starving, cold, not being able to be protected from the elements? Who wants all that? Like no one wants it. And that's why, you know, you have to like be smart, be practical, be deliberate. Like waste nothing. And the lessons from Sagittarius season was that yes, we have these things. We allowed ourselves to be abundant and to have excess. But at the same time, like, we have to understand that these things come and go. You could be up 1 year and down 1 year, or up for 5 years and down for 10 years. Like, life is like very weird. And like a downside to Jupiter and its excess is that it's wastefulness. And like Capricorn's like, you know what? Sagittarius season, you were very abundant. You were very excessive, but also wasteful. And I'm here to like pick up where you left off. Like that's why the zodiac is like a wheel and not like a square or like a straight line, because when we transition to another season, we're picking up where the last sign like left off. Like Capricorn is like the 10th out of 12 zodiac signs. So it's one of the mature, older signs. And you know, Pisces being the last sign and the oldest sign. So like they've learned lessons from the previous zodiac signs before. And you know, it's a cycle. It's definitely a cycle. And you know, it goes around and round and round and round. So the lessons will always like keep coming up. But yeah, it's like very important. Like, but yeah, anyone listening, you're blessed. You have what you need. You just don't know that yet. Keep working hard. Protect yourself too. Like, whatever, however you protect yourself, but protect yourself. Protect your mind. Protect your environment. Be careful, wary of certain people. FYI, like, if there's any lessons to be learned for the entire like life, be careful of your circle, be careful of your surroundings, be careful of the people closest to you. Like, yeah, like be careful. And yeah, I would say like a downside to like Capricorn is that like Capricorn's very ambitious and everything. And sometimes there is this sort of, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, which is life, by the way. Don't forget that. Like, I know people saying, oh, I'm such a giver, but like, we all give and we all take. There are some people that are users and takers more than they are givers. But you know, you have to understand that too. Like, we're in Pluto and Capricorn right now. So like, those Capricorn themes and those energies are like being like transformed. And one thing I say with like the downside with like Capricorn is that they could, I won't say take people for granted, but they could dish out the karma, delayed karma. Because, you know, Capricorn and Saturn, they're karmic, like, sort of, like, placements. That's why they're malefics. Like, you know, Saturn is, like, the scary stuff. It's death, it's disease, it's taxes. It's stuff that we can't, like, avoid. You know what I mean? And sometimes with, like, the Capricorn energy, like, a downside is that they'll remember all the fucked up shit that people in their circle did. And sometimes they carry that energy and project it onto other people that have no, like, that don't have anything to do with that. And yeah, because there's one thing with Capricorn is that, like, they don't trust something when it's too easy. And when I'm speaking about Capricorn, I'm not necessarily talking about individuals. I'm talking about what the sign represents. So if I'm saying Capricorn, I'm not talking about you per se, because who knows, you may be Uranian Capricorn for a whole bunch of Uranus aspects and Aquarius like placements, like up in the 11th house. Who fucking knows? But yeah, like Capricorn, like very resourceful, but you know, they're also like very like pragmatic, and they're very realistic about people. Like they know that some people are users, some people are takers, and sometimes they find themselves in the position that they don't want to be, so they have to make a lot of compromises and sacrifices. Oh, by the way, sacrifice is a big thing with Capricorn and their energy. Yeah, but sometimes they find themselves making rhetorically, deals with the devils, compromising and sacrificing themselves. And like they get so like angry and bitter by that they, when they get to the position that they want to be, now they start flexing and like taking revenge out on everyone for like the hard experiences that they've been through. It's like, I'm finally in a position where I could really do what I want to do and like say what I want to say. And you know what? I'm going to do it. Fuck all y'all. You know, like, I don't know. Like, for me, like, I consider myself Plutonian and like Sagittarian. Yeah, because I have Pluto aspects, I have Saturn aspects. I guess I have more Pluto than Saturn, but I can still consider myself both. And again, like there's a lot of like not so great things with like Saturn. Like it's a very fearful sign. Very ambitious, very hardworking, very tenacious, resourceful. All these like amazing things, but it also rules over like a lot of like very serious, very unavoidable things. And you know, like if you look at it, Capricorn rules over the 10th house, which is your most public house in the zodiac circle, the zodiac wheel. And like the 10th house, that could mean like a lot of things. Like power, because it's about power and control. Like Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn, Scorpio, like those signs about control and power. And Pluto is more of the power thing, and Saturn is more of the control thing, but it's pretty much vice versa. So like they both rule over those things. And the thing with power is power leaves you vulnerable. Like that's something that no one wants to like. I mean, people already know this, but power leaves you vulnerable. There's always going to be someone that wants your position that's trying to knock you down. It's not paranoia, by the way. People are like, oh, shut the fuck up. It's not paranoia. That's just like the nature of power. Like there's always someone younger, better, smarter, prettier, faster than you. Those are like facts. And with Capricorn, there is an insecurity because it's the 10th house, it's the most public house. There's no real protection. So whatever you get, like, you have to be careful how you treat others, how you treat yourself, like your reputation, like what you did to get that power, how you get it. You know how there's a saying that like says not all money is good money. So how you got your money? How you got this? And the 10th house is all out there. And you know, if you really think about it, I would say I read this book by Liz Green many years ago. So probably like over 10 years ago. Saturn, and you look at an old devil, and I think she was saying that in the book, Saturn, because I'm thinking like, why is Capricorn in the 10th house and not the 6th house? Because the 6th house is, you know, about daily routines, is about like your work life, your home life, sickness, health. And I understand why it's like ruled by Virgo, because I mean, come on, like Virgo, like I understand like why, but like Liz was pretty much saying that like Saturn in the 6th house is like a comfortable, I won't say comfortable, but it's a good placement to be in, because even though Mercury doesn't rule over like sickness and stuff like that, it's more of a messenger. But Saturn is like, you know, about like the toil that, you know, everyday life takes on you, on your body and stuff like that. So yeah, and like the routines that we like upheld, like if we're eating bad, we're going to be affected. And I was thinking like, would it make more sense? I mean, now I understand why Saturn is in the 10th house, because that's just the way, like, not Saturn, but I mean Saturn, but like Capricorn, really. But, you know, since Capricorn's in the 10th house and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, Saturn is in the 10th house naturally. But, like, again, like, power is power. Like, it's not fixed. It could change at any moment. And it's more about, you know, building like a legacy. Like, another thing that people don't necessarily acknowledge is that, you know, Saturn is, you know, also about building a legacy. Like, building something that can like survive even if you are no longer in that position. You know, building a legacy, like building others. And like if you look at about it in like astrology, like Cancer's in the 4th house, the most private house. And like I talked about this in my blog before, but like I was talking about oppositions. And it's interesting, like the oppositions, like it's between Cancer and Capricorn. To be honest, this is my opinion, but I think that like with oppositions, certain oppositions, in my opinion, are easier than like other oppositions. Like when it comes to qualities, like I feel like mutable oppositions are the hardest. So like Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, like, yeah, I feel like those are like the hardest. Like, and I feel that cardinal like oppositions are not as bad. I feel like with the mutable oppositions, like they're worse because mutable energy is like so changeable, so unpredictable, always having to be flexible, always having to be adaptable, that like is very like vulnerable, you know what I mean? Like especially like Virgo and Pisces having that opposition, like, but that's the also thing with like oppositions is that, and I'm talking out the top of my head, like none of what I'm saying is planned. And it's things that I think about, but I like to think. So like I still have to flesh it out, but like cuz if you look at like, even though like we have to move away from talking about celebrities in astrology. I talked about this before, but like who knows if we could really trust that information that's out there. But if you want to like talk about archetypes, then maybe. But I'm just thinking about like Michael Jackson, like the Virgo, like Pisces opposition. And I think Kurt Cobain, like he had like Virgo, like Pisces energy all up in his chart. And like I feel that is like so like vulnerable, like, and like the thing with like oppositions is that with oppositions in astrology, like, hold on, I have to make sure it doesn't time out. With oppositions in astrology, the signs, they have each other's traits. It's just that they do things in the opposite way. Like going back to like Capricorn and Cancer, like they're very similar. Like people don't give enough credit, but like Cancers are hustlers. They got to do what they got to do for the family. It's the same with Capricorn. They just do it in different ways. Like Cancer is very warm and nurturing and like, you know, very protective. And Capricorn, like, they're all those things, but they do it in a different way. Like Capricorn isn't warm, it's cold. It's distant. But they're Capricorn is about family. Capricorn is about building a legacy. Like, I know people don't think, oh, Capricorn is not about this and that. Like, but if you really think about it, it is. You know, like this, the archetype. Saturn is like the stern father, and like Cancer is like the mother, or like vice versa, because you know, these are archetypes, but not everyone fits into the archetypes. And yeah, like they just go about things like the opposite way. And like I'm more of like attracts like than opposites attract. But like, they're very similar, even though they do things in the opposite way. Like they're very similar. I would say that like the Aries Libra opposition, I don't know if they're really like as similar, because the first house and the seventh house, like Aries ruling the first house and Libra all up in the seventh house, which is about, relationships and other stuff too. But even that opposition is not even bad either. Like, typically you have to be your own individual. You have to be your own self in order to function in a relationship. So like, it's like an evolution too, but it's going in both directions. Because in a relationship, you also have to be like giving and think about others. You have to think about yourself too, but you also have to think about others when you're in like these sort of relationships. And I feel like with cardinal oppositions, they still retain their identity. That's like a big thing. Like the mutable signs, they're always like constantly having to like be flexible and adaptable and all that. And sometimes like you have to like kind of like shed your identity or like take on a new identity in like the mutable sort of oppositions. And that's why I feel like it's harder. But with like cardinal oppositions, you still retain your identity. Like, it's not subject to as much change. Like, cardinal is like leader, enterprising energy. So like, they still retain their identity. And, you know, I haven't talked about fixed oppositions. Fixed oppositions could go either way. And who knows, there could be an argument made that fixed oppositions are the hardest because they're stubborn, they're set in their ways. But they're also like very stable. Like Taurus and Scorpio, like that's an opposition. Like that's stability. And I would say maybe like it's one of extremes. Like very polarized energy. Like one of extremes. Like the Aquarius Leo. But it really depends too on a lot of factors, but that's how like I feel about it. Like Aquarius and Leo, like that opposition. The opposition is very easy. Not easy. It's very like interesting. And I feel like Aquarius and Leos are very similar. Again, very similar, but they do things in the opposite way. Like Leos attract energy to themselves. And Aquarius attract energy by not focusing on themselves, but focusing on other people. But you know, when you focus on other people and like try to empower other people, you're empowering yourself. And these people can turn and look to you and say, hey, I did this because this person helped me. So that energy exchange is being redirected back to the person that like lifted them up. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of like, what, reverse narcissism? On the downside, I don't know. But yeah, like both like Aquarius and Leo wants to be different, want to stand out. But again, they just do it in like opposite ways. They want to be original, like they just do it in opposite ways. That's why even with the Age of Aquarius, people forget that like polarity too. Like right now, people are clout chasing. People are wanting attention. People are wanting to be unique and to be different and to not be like everyone else. But at the same time, if you see what's going on, especially with like Instagram, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. That's why like I try not to like really participate. But I know I have to like start getting more into it. But like, yeah, like if you see what's going on with Instagram, everyone looks the same. Which is so like weird because I remember like the 2010s, everyone wanted to be different and looked different. Like hipsters were running rampant and like terrorizing all of us. And like now like it's the BBL like people. You know, the girls with the Brazilian butt lifts, they all look the same. They all have that like same like sort of body type and look. And you know, like the Kim K effect and all that, which is like weird because like in the 2010s, people like, you know, they wanted to be different. They wanted to be edgy. They had like different like subgroups. And you know, now like instead of calling it subgroups, it's now aesthetics. Because you know, the Gen Z, Pluto and Sagittarius squad coming up and doing their thing and renaming things, which is also like very interesting. But at the same time, everyone want like I don't know, like individuality is not being like promoted as much. which is, a side effect of the Age of Aquarius too, but also it's just like by looking like everyone else. I don't know. I don't know if it's the Aquarius Leo polarity or it's like the big brothery, like no more individuality, like I don't know what it is. It's like very interesting. Or maybe it's like the remnants of the Piscean age, like the age of Pisces, where that's like the last hurrah, where everyone like wants to just like blend and be one. Because like for me with the Age of Aquarius, I don't think it's necessarily about being one. It's about being one in your own group. I mentioned this before, but the individual in the community. And this is like, yeah, like can you be an individual in the community? Like at what point do you have to change and blend in? And it's also about survival too. Like if you watch like The Walking Dead, they all split up into like different factions. Not factions, but like groups for survival. Like you can't be like, like the loner. You know what I mean? That could get you like fucked up or caught up in some bullshit. And like I'm just thinking about a lot of things. I'm thinking about Octavia E. Butler, like with Parable of the Sower. How like you have to be careful about the leaders, like who you choose to be a leader, but there's just so much like layers to this shit. Like so much layers. But this is gonna be mad long. And it's gonna be mad fun to upload. Yay! It's gonna be so much fun to upload. Oh my gosh. And I want to get this in by like New Year's, cause we're in the last days of 2022. And I'm doing this. I will hope people will watch this, but I'm just doing it for myself, just to ramble. It's fun rambling. But yeah. Okay, I think I'm done. Everyone be safe. Happy New Year's. Happy 2023. Support me. Check out my astrology flashcards or astrology jewelry or astrology whatever. And, stay safe. Think for yourself. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. And, be deliberate. It's Capricorn season. Be deliberate. Okay. Bye.